So you're going to hear from a lot of different speakers tonight, not just Clay County representatives, but representatives from the town of Orange Park, also from the city of Green Cove Springs, and from many of our different agencies. They're here to help you. We've got representatives from Clay County's Emergency Management. Mike Ladd is the director, so he's here with us tonight, as well as representatives from Public Safety, the Sheriff's Office, and the Clay County Risk Management is here as well. The Tax Collector's Office will be here, and we are just here to help you, kind of guide you through the process of owning a vacation rental. Our partners in tonight's program is the Florida Alliance of Vacation Rentals. They are the state association for vacation rental owners, and we wanted to bring them here. They're the experts. The Clay County Tourism, we're the experts in marketing your business, but the Florida Alliance of Vacation Rentals, they're the experts in how to run a vacation rental business. So we tapped into their resources. They're here today to walk us through some of the best practices. So I'm going to turn it over to Dennis so he can tell you about the Alliance and really helping you define and navigate your new business as a vacation rental owner.
Do I need the microphone or can I just speak? Let me see. I do? Okay, I need the microphone, I guess. So my name is Dennis Hanks. I'm the Executive Director of the Florida Alliance for Vacation Rentals. We also call ourselves Favor, so find favor with favor. We have been around for about 30 years now. We have evolved over the years from a lot of smaller groups to one large statewide association now. We have 8 chapters around the state of Florida. We're continuing to grow as the industry grows. Little fun fact on the bottom there that we were around 14 years prior to Airbnb. Everybody says it's an Airbnb. Well, that's a brand. Vacation rentals have been around for a lot longer. We continue to serve the industry in many different ways. We have seats on the DVPR, which is your state licensing authority. So we're on the advisory board for state licensing. We've been involved with Visit Florida and many other agencies around. Happy to partner with Clay County Tourism and the county here as well. So this is what we do. We go out, we talk, we educate, we provide information, and let you find out how to run a vacation rental successfully, how to do it in conjunction with your neighbors, to be a good neighbor, to do all those things that a vacation rental should be doing in the state of Florida. And things have changed statute-wise, and we're going to get a little bit into that, so we'll go through the program a little bit more. And do I change? Thank you so much. So just a little bit of information, how the industry has changed just over the last several years. In 2021, active Florida properties, they were at 233,000 vacation rentals in the state of Florida. Now we're at 382,000 in just several years. COVID changed a lot for us. It continues to change a lot. We were at 706,000 bedrooms in all those vacation rentals. Now we're at 984,000. There are purpose-built homes being put in all across the state, communities being built specific for vacation rentals. So a lot of this is continuing to evolve and change the way that the industry is demanding more and more. During COVID, CDC and everyone else was saying, don't go to those hotels, go to a vacation rental. It's safer, it's more cleaner for you. There's less risk of being infected by COVID. So a lot of things started changing and the dynamics have continued to change. Occupancy has dropped a little bit. So the reason is that saturation we've seen all over the state of Florida has now dropped the occupancy. So we get people all the time going, what's going on? My bookings are a little slower, this is happening. But it's in different markets are reacting different ways. So it depends where you are. The beach markets are thriving. The inner city ones are slowing up. For instance, saturation in the Orlando market is unbelievable what's happening with the building going on in like an Orlando market. So we're seeing in that probably somewhere around in greater Orlando, 45 to 50,000 vacation rentals clustered in that metro market. So it's always changing. And that's kind of the dynamics of it.
And we're up 8% in bed tax collection.
There you go. And we're seeing that. So I'll give you Osceola County, which is Kissimmee and, around the parks and theme parks. Their main TDT tax is from vacation rentals. It outpaces hotels, believe it or not, in that Orlando market. It's really going strong because of that growth that's happening. And that's what we're seeing in many different markets statewide. So the impact of vacation rentals, we several years ago put a study in place. We worked with the Florida Association of Realtors. We partnered on this and came up with all these economic impact numbers that we were close to $30 billion a year in economic impact. But the other things that are really important are what you're seeing up there as far as job creation, 300 jobs a day. You're seeing all those types of things that continue to grow in this market. And when we go to a lot of different meetings, public meetings, and people say, you guys don't create any jobs. It's just Joe Smith running his vacation rental. But then you get into the HVAC people, the landscapers, the plumbers, and everybody else that's involved in it. It really continues to grow as far as multipliers in this market. So look at the one statistic, I believe it's on the bottom there, of the dollars that come in from every single guest. It's like $1.3 million every hour is generated by vacation rentals in the state of Florida. So it's a huge economic generator. Believe it or not, it's larger than the citrus industry, so it's going to continue to grow. It's not going anywhere, despite what many people think. So defining a rental, there's several ways to do that. If you look at the law, it's changed a little bit. 2011 was the original statute put in place for the preemption in the state of Florida. It has changed a little bit in 2014. It gave a little bit more power back to local governments to change things. But for the most part, transient public lodging establishments are what vacation rentals are operating under in the state of Florida. There's a lot of differentiation in that. 30 days or less is a transient public lodging establishment. As you get over 30 days, it now becomes something a little in the gray area, they like to say, because it's not short-term, it's not long-term, but it changes your licensing and things that are related to licensing. So we're not going to go real deep in that, but if any of you have questions on anything to do with licensing and things, myself or Keith, our attorney here, he'll be here and he can answer that as well. We work on this day in and day out, and it's constantly evolving. Some people, we're on a lot of these Facebook pages and things where there's tens of thousands of people in the vacation rental industry on these Facebook pages. And someone will ask a question, I don't think I need a license, or you have to be a realtor to be a vacation rental manager. There's always these questions out there, and you'll see like 25 or 30 answers to it, and there's usually one, maybe two out of those 25 or 30 that are actually right and correct. So don't rely on Facebook and all these other pages for the facts about vacation rentals. Go to the source, hire an attorney, whatever you need to do. Make sure you do it right, because at some point, if you don't, it's going to come back to haunt you. We've had people that didn't do their taxes correctly, and they didn't collect TDT taxes or whatever it may be, and then someone comes knocking on the door and you end up having to pay $110,000 or so. We've seen this quite often in some markets. You just have to know what you're doing before you get in trouble with this, so it's just best to talk to people. Licenses in different categories. It could be a single license, it could be a group license, it could be a collective license. There's all different things that trigger that. So you may have all your properties in one condo building, and then you need one type of license. You may have your vacation rental spread out across 3 different cities. You need a different type of license. So it's always best to know which kind of license covers what you're doing, and every situation is different. So always ask those questions. Always come up with all the statute language like this so that you can make sure that you're clear on it. So state enforcement, this is right from the DVPR's website. As I mentioned, I sit on the DVPR's advisory board, so we have meetings all the time. This language is being refined. So the column on the left and the column on the right, it tells you what DVPR is responsible for. You may have something that you're really questioning and saying, I'm going to check with DVPR. This little checklist will give you an idea of things that they can get involved in. A lot of people will say, DVPR's not responsible for rates, or DBPR is responsible for water quality. There's so many different variations on what DBPR does and does not do. And that's sometimes even questionable by cities or counties and ordinances and other things. These are the things that DBPR is allowed to do or not do. And it's a long list of things that, as you can see. So common safety issues, there are things in the statute that you must be aware of. It depends on the type of property you have. It may be that you have condos. If you have balconies, you don't have balconies, you have to have balcony inspections, and some of these things are triggers for the balcony inspection. So Chapter 509, which governs vacation rentals, is one of those areas where you would check on that. What we can do, if anybody has interest later, I'll leave some business cards out. Chapter 509, we've actually highlighted every section of it. So you can look down and you'll see all the yellow highlighted sections. It'll say balcony inspection, dishwashing, all those different things that pertain to vacation rentals, rather than, it is a hotel and lodging statute, so you could have mixed in there timeshares and a bunch of other things. We've actually taken the legwork out of that and highlighted it. But balcony inspections, there's certain things that trigger it. Some people won't know that they even need a balcony inspection until DBPR comes knocking on their door and says, hey, you should have had a balcony inspection when you purchased this, or maybe the facility had it done already. So there's all kinds of different ways to look at it and double check on things. Additional safety issues, these are some of the basic ones we just pull out of the statute. Locking mechanisms on the door so that nobody can come in and try to unlock the door when a guest is in the room. Fire extinguishers, a lot of local statutes are going to tell you how to mount that fire extinguisher, where to put it. All of those things can be added in a local ordinance, so always be aware of that. And then my personal favorite on the bottom that everybody usually doesn't know is you have to have specialized smoke alarms for the hearing impaired, and you have to have one available for every 50 rental units. So that's little things that are in the statute that most people don't realize. There's a lot of those other ones in there, and we'll get to that in the next slide here. So you're in some rural areas out here. You may have to have well water for your property. You have to have well water tested by DBPR and show them the report. Dishes and glassware. How many of you have dishwashers in your vacation rental? Anybody? A few of you. You have to, if it's not a commercial grade dishwasher, you have to have the following things, or you have to post a little notice above it just basically saying that it's not sanitized to certain standards. So all of those things are where DBPR will come in. If they're coming in to check your license or whatever it may be, they may say, hey, these are some things that you need to be aware of. Typically, if you're an operator that doesn't understand it, they'll give you a warning, they'll give you time to cure. DBPR is not going to come in and just shut you down for some of these things unless you're a repeat offender and something's gone wrong many times. They'll come in and just say, hey, get it fixed, we'll be back, and show us that you've cured the issue. So the one exemption that's most important is some people that are renting through the Airbnb platform will rent a room. They'll rent a small part of the house, they're not renting the entire house. That would be the exemption from DBPR having a license with them. So that's one of the few things that are most important to be aware of, because it does happen. There are many, many of those on the platform other than a full home rental. So we lead education statewide. We do a lot of education. We have a large annual conference that we do. It's 3 days of just constant education and training and information. It's really information overload. You're going to have a lot of information here tonight. You're probably not going to remember half of what we're going to throw at you tonight, but we're always there so that we can follow up with you and tell you, the right and wrong things. So a couple of years ago, the state of Florida put in place human trafficking awareness training. And you have to take this. It's mandatory for anybody that does any type of lodging in the state of Florida, whether you're a hotel, motel, or a vacation rental, you have to have human trafficking awareness training. It's free. There's the good part. It takes about an hour or so, depending upon how fast you are, to go through some of that. We are, in the state of Florida, the third largest human trafficking state in the country. It is a growing problem, mostly in a lot of the big cities, areas where you'll see sporting events and other things. It is prevalent in those cities, and it happens a lot. The certification is free though, you take the course, but you have to do it every year. It is an annual thing, and everyone has to be updated on it. The one thing that the statute's a little kind of wonky in some areas because it says you have to be an employee of the vacation rental company. We used certain triggers that we look for. If you're meeting a guest face-to-face and you're a frontline person, you're an owner, whoever it may be, but if you're meeting them face-to-face, you need to take the training. A lot of people are also vendors, and you may have a housekeeper that is not an employee of yours. They're hired under contract. Technically, they do not need to have the training. Silly, because they are probably the one that would identify any type of human trafficking that's happening in an area, because they're in and out of the house, they're bringing extra towels, whatever it may be. We have some property managers who say, hey, I am asking you as my vendor to take this training, and I want your employees to take the training as well. If you're gonna work for me, I want vendors to do it. So it's not mandatory, but it is something that a property manager or an owner, somebody could request that they do that, just to make sure that it's not happening. And then it's one of those situations where we tell people, if you see something, say something, make a report. We had a person in a home down in southern Florida who, it was kind of strange. They had a group that rented a home, very expensive home. A van pulls up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and two guys get out with young kids. So they're like questioning, something's not right here. So the next morning they question it. Lo and behold, the people jump in the van and they're gone. So you never know what's going on. You just need to be aware of that and report things when you need to. So the guest safety programs, this is another area that we've seen growing over the last few years. We have a 4-hour program that's online. It's a program where they're going to go through everything from pool safety to fire hazards, anything that they can find in the home, and come up with reasons why you should be aware of these things, not only for you as the liability side of things, and Keith will talk a little bit about that side, but also for the guest. You know, there's a lot of things that are happening all the time, and you don't want your guests to be injured. It'll injure your ratings and Airbnb status and all of those things. So other educational programs, we do this all the time with big partners like Airbnb and VRBO, the Sheriff's Department, you name it, county offices. All of these educational programs are going to continue to change and evolve over the years. We have somewhere, I think, 23 educational programs that we run now. So if there's something that you feel stuck on in the industry, we probably have a program for it, because it's something that everybody else has struggled with. So it's just another one of those ongoing things. So insurance coverage, this is another one where people get hung up all the time. I'll give you some quick scenarios on this. They think the homeowner's policy covers them. It does not. If you're renting the home, it's going to be some changes to your policy, otherwise you're not going to get covered. Something's going to happen somewhere. We've kind of seen it all. We've seen where people have come in and they've been asked to leave the home because there's a removal policy, and they've thrown all the stuff in the house entirely in the pool and filled the pool up with all the furniture. Or we've seen drugs on board, we've seen parties, all of those things. So all of those things cannot be covered by what you would think in like an Airbnb policy. Every Airbnb says, oh, you've got $1 million worth of coverage. Yeah, it covers certain things. Read those policies, because usually it's not going to cover the one thing that happens to you, and you're going to be stuck trying to recoup that money. So that's another area to be careful of. It's not going to be a homeowner's policy. It's going to be some specific coverage just for you. This is one. Accidents can be avoided. In this case, it cannot be. This was just yesterday. A guest car caught on fire in the driveway and burned up in the driveway. And the homeowner was asking, what do I do? Who do I go after? So actually I gave him Keith's name to talk to. But you wouldn't want to file it under your homeowner policy. You'd want to go through the guest insurance. And this is just something that happens. And as a vacation rental operator, we go to a lot of hearings and people complain and say, the house is a nuisance, and you just really can't handle some of the guest situations that happen. There's always going to be those guests from hell that you have to deal with. and you just try to work through it. There's a lot of different programs in place now. If you're having trouble screening guests, if you're having trouble figuring out if it's going to be a good fit for your home, ask questions, do background checks. There are programs that they can do a background check for you. It's a little bit of money to subscribe to some of those programs, but it's well worth it. They scan their Facebook pages, they do all this activity so that you'll know what type of guest you're getting. In some cases, you can't avoid it though. I mean, we've had, during COVID in Orlando, there were big parties that were breaking out, and a 60-year-old person comes face to face, planks down the deposit, gives the money, and then there's a huge party that evening. And you thought that this distinguished gentleman that walked in and booked the property was going to be the one staying there, and instead it was the 25 whoever that he allowed into the property. So nobody wants to have a party, and that's kind of what we tell people all the time. We don't want parties, we're not asking for parties, we're just trying to make sure that we find the right guests, and a lot of these programs will help us with that if you're aware of them.
And do we want to talk about tax collector next?
Sure. I think I'm done. Was that my last one? Yeah, that's it. So thank you so much. We'll be here though. If anyone has questions, certainly stop by and see us.
Thank you, Dennis. So next on the agenda, we are excited to welcome our tax collector, Diane Hutchings. We just wanted to make sure that you all knew how easy it was to work with their office and the resources that they have available to you. So Diane, I'll turn it over to you.
It's great to be with you, and the software and the things that we're using right now are much more friendlier, and you can do things all online and not have to run back and forth to our office. So our tax manager right here, Ms. Stephanie Davis, she's the one that's really developed this and used the software to get everything up and running, so I'm going to let her tell you about it. Thank you.
Hi. First of all, you know, tourist development tax falls under the Florida Statute 125.0104. You guys have our pamphlet in your folder. Tells you all about it, gives you the statutes. It's also called the bed tax. In Clay County, it's a 5% tax in addition to your sales tax. So our tax collector hired Grant Street Group to provide us with an easy way for you all to file your returns and pay your tourist tax. It's called Tourist Express, and you can get to it from our website, claycountytax.com. You go on there, you register every month, you just go in there, drop in your numbers, and pay from there. It's all online, don't have to come in, don't have to do anything like that. Very straightforward and simple. The tax returns are due on the first of the month after the month that the tax is collected, and they're late after the 20th. So right now we have about 85 active accounts in Clay County. We know there are a lot more properties than that. So with us, we have now contracted, or are now using a contract that the county purchased with Deckard to identify properties that are not registered with us. It's important to keep in mind that if you are registered with Airbnb, you are not covered for your rentals on VRBO or At Home or any of the other sites. So we have an awful lot of accounts that are out there that are registered with Airbnb, but we don't have an account for them. So we need an account for you if you're gonna go on any other platform. Airbnb is the only one with a collection agreement.
Okay, so Airbnb does have a collection agreement with you?
Currently, it may or may not be there in the future because we're trying to be as fair as possible to everybody. And we're not willing to sign a bunch of collection agreements because we don't have any way to validate the information on those agreements because they won't release their data as to which properties are involved. So in the future, Airbnb may not have a collection agreement. We will see what happens.
How will you notify people that the Airbnb no longer has an agreement?
Airbnb will have to notify you because they do not turn over their client list. That's the problem. And there is legislation at the state trying to change that. If Airbnb would turn over their client list and we could match up properties with payments, it would be a non-issue. But Airbnb does not want to do that. So that's really just a matter of where we are, unfortunately. I was gonna say, just make sure, if you're renting on more than one platform, Deckard shows us every platform that you're renting off of. So it's pretty obvious what this company can come up with, and it's only fair to the people doing it right, because otherwise, you have other homeowners who are potentially able to undercut you on price because they're collecting the 5%, they're just not remitting it. So they could literally cut their price and make the same money by not remitting it. So we're just trying to be fair to everyone. This year through September, the tax collector's office has already collected over 1.55 million in tourist development taxes, which averages out to about 172,000 per month that is turned over to the county for tourism efforts. And I'm sure Kimberly is gonna tell you all about what they do with those. If you have any additional questions or any problems with registration, our information is right here. We're willing to help you. We can, if you voluntarily tell us, okay, I heard about this and I know I'm behind, we'll waive the penalties and interest at this point. But if it's something that we find down the road, the state then adds penalties and interest because you didn't voluntarily report. We're just the bad guys, we collect the money. But it's what allows tourism to do what they're doing, so. Any questions? Yes?
When Airbnb collects, then we don't even report that as income through the state or through the county bed tax, is that correct?
Airbnb reports an aggregate amount.
And so we're not responsible for reporting any tax that we know they collected or any income that came through an Airbnb rental to the state or to the county.
If Airbnb, if you have an agreement with them to collect and pay your tourist tax, and that's the only platform you're on, then you wouldn't have an account with us at this time.
If we have an account with you though, and we're reporting the others like from VRBO or Booking.com.
That's what you need to do.
Then, but we don't have to also report the income from Airbnb.
That's correct, because if you have the agreement with Airbnb to collect for you, that's the proper way to do it. So if you're going to be on multiple sites, which Deckard shows us that 90% of people list on multiple sites, so we should have 90% of the 300 rentals in Clay County, and we only have 85 accounts. So that's where we are.
So are the taxes only required for short-term rentals under 30 days or for everything?
Short-term rental in Florida is anything rented for 180 days or less. So this is a little confusing because that's your licensure on the 30 days and to what type of rental it is. Short-term rentals are basically on your pamphlet here. I gave you the statute. I just went ahead and wrote it out for you. And it tells you 6 months or more before you don't have to collect tourist development tax.
So month-to-month rentals would fall under that as well?
Yes. Yes. If they do not have a bona fide 6 month and 1 day or longer lease, it's a short-term rental. Now there is one part of the statute that says you can rent to that person and show proof that you paid taxes for that one person for 6 months, and then on the 7th month not collect for that one person.
So if they're not going through a platform, how are you identifying that and tracking it?
That's why we have contracted with Deckard to find these properties. They are scraping 1,100 platforms and telling us what properties, they're identifying them. They have some pretty sophisticated software that takes pictures and locates where it is and identifies the property, and those property owners will be getting letters from us. If you're a Clay County resident, you know that our tax bills just went out yesterday, so it may be a few months before we get really going, because this is brand new to us too this fall. But those homeowners will be getting letters saying that we have information Here's the dates that you rented. Here's the platforms you were on. Why don't we have an account for you? We're estimating that you've rented for 15 days at an average rate of $170 a night. This is the tax that you owe.
Sorry, one more. Can you answer any question about homestead exemption in short-term rental?
That would be your property appraiser. Yeah, I don't want to get into that because I know that okay, he's going to talk about that. I'm going to let an attorney talk about that. So. Any other questions? Yes.
Just a quick one, if we have a long-term rental, they're on the lease,
Mhm.
and at the end of the year it expires, they just leave 1 month to month.
Mhm.
Is that considered short-term after that?
If you haven't paid for 6 months, if you don't have a bona fide lease, you have to pay for 6 months of tourist development tax. And then after that, and you can prove that they've done the 6 months, then you would be good to not charge. But you can't convert from a lease to non-bona fide lease. That's what the statute says is a bona fide lease of more than 6 months.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, thank you.
And now, just think about it, like when you go to an apartment complex, you do a month-to-month lease or a 7-month lease. Guess why? Because of the 180 days. So that's why that's there. So just keep that in mind, and you may want to keep that in mind just as a guideline for y'all when you're looking at your leases and different things. But thank you all, Diane and Stephanie, thank you for being here for tonight and helping us with the TDT and collection and all of that stuff. We will tell you all what happens with your bed tax collection, or the TDT that you do pay. We will tell you all about that. But right now, I know there are probably some times where you you purchase a property and you want to make some changes to that property so that it's vacation rental worthy, right? Which probably means that you need to work with the county or a municipal building department or, permit. You need to pull some permits. So we've invited our director of building, Steve Schoaf, is here in the house. Do y'all have any questions particularly about that? Y'all all know how, okay. Steve, is there anything in particular you'd like to share?
See how easy it is to get a
Oh, no. Okay, well, know that we are here to help you with that and make sure that everything goes smoothly with any renovations that you all do. But just keep in mind that you may need a permit for something that you may want to change in your vacation rental property. Next, I think we're going to talk about business licenses. I'm going to turn it over to Sarah Campbell from the town of Orange Park. She is going to tell you all a little bit, if your vacation rental is located in the town of Orange Park, they have some specific guidelines that they would like to share with you. So, Sarah?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Sarah Campbell. I'm the town manager for the town of Orange Park. This is my colleague, Maddie White. She is our permitting coordinator. She handles all things permitting in the town of Orange Park. So whether you need a new roof, or whether you need a burial permit, or a tree removed, or a short-term vacation rental permit, she is your subject matter expert, and she's going to go through those details. First of all, I'd just like to say I'm a fan of what you do. I've stayed in short-term vacation rentals all over the country and in 8 other countries around the world. So I love the product, and we're here to support what you do. Because Orange Park is so small, we're just less than 5 square miles, fewer than 10,000 residents. A lot of people don't know where those town limits are. So we do have a packet tonight with information and a map of the town limits in case you're not sure. Most folks know if they're in the town limits or not. Is there anybody here from the municipal limits of Orange Park? I don't see anybody. But if you're ever interested in expanding into our area, we do have an additional layer of regulations. Because we have so few residents, we're mostly a residential community. We also have 8 hotels in the town limits. And so our council is very sensitive to balancing the needs of the hotel owners and the needs of the residents. So we do not allow short-term vacation rentals in any commercial districts. They wanted to set those aside specifically for hotel operators. So we only allow them in residentially zoned districts. And right now we have about 8 operators in the town limits. But I'm going to turn it over to Maddie, who's going to go through our checklist of items that you would need if you want to operate in the town limits.
Hello. So like Sarah said, I am the planning and permitting coordinator. We do have some extra guidelines that the town does require. The short-term vacation rental application, along with applicable fees, and the application is available on our website and also at town hall. There is a business tax that's also required. That is a separate fee. That is also submitted to my department. And then we also require the Florida business license, so the DP or DBPR license. We do need that as well to show that, yes, you are active and it hasn't expired. We also need an external sketch. So must be drawn to scale, showing all structures, pools, fencing, and uses, including areas provided for off-street parking and trash collection. We also need an internal sketch. So that must also be drawn to scale, showing the floor layout, including all bedrooms and sleeping areas, exits, smoke, and carbon monoxide detectors and fire extinguishers. Also, rental posting, so on any site that you post on, Airbnb, VRBO, we need to see that as well. And then the short-term vacation rental has to be notarized as well, the notarized compliance affidavit. And then there's a lot of information that gets thrown out. But we also need the fire inspection fee of $50, that as well as the short-term vacation rental application fee, which is also $50. That is due before the fire inspection can be scheduled. So once everything is paid, I let my fire marshal know, hey, this is ready for the fire inspection. We do have an owner that lives out of state. They gave us the key code number. We let the fire marshal know, and he went out to do the inspection, and it passed. There was no issues or anything. So if you live out of state, or you're not able to do it and you have the keypad for the door, let the fire marshal know, and he's like, okay, no problem. So there's a lot of things. Any questions? Yes.
Why do you need the sketches of the inside of the house? What's the purpose of that?
Yeah.
So Maddie wasn't here when we passed our ordinance. Our occupancy is based on the number of off-street parking areas and the number of bedrooms. So we need to verify how many bedrooms are on the site and how many off-street parking spaces you have.
Thank you.
Any others?
Thank
Well,
you all.
thank y'all.
Answer any questions you have, please.
Thank you, Sarah and Maddie. And we have Mike Brown is coming from the city of Green Cove Springs to talk about, because I know some of you are in the city of Green Cove. So he's going to tell you a little bit about their ordinance. You all also have a copy of the ordinance for Orange Park and for Green Cove in your packet. I wanted to make sure that you knew that it's available now. But Mike's going to dive in and give you the Cliff Notes version.
Thank you. Mike Daniels, Development Services Director for the City of Green Cove Springs. Many of our requirements are similar to Orange Park. The city adopted a short-term rental ordinance back in 2019. And we do require, as part of that process, that they submit a short-term rental certificate. They are required to get a business tax receipt, and as was mentioned earlier, we require that they register with the Florida Department of Revenue, DBPR, as well as with the Clay County Tax Collector. And they're also required to maintain initial and ongoing site compliance with the short-term vacation rental standards. Those standards include application process, a site sketch, again, showing the parking areas, showing, the sanitation handling areas, and also an interior building sketch, which again addresses minimum life safety requirements and maximum occupancy requirements. We do require an initial, building and fire inspection, and then there are annual building and fire inspections as part of the process. We require also a responsible party. That's who we can contact in case of emergency. For example, if a car, gets on fire in the middle of the parking lot, for example, would be one of those situations. But basically they'd be responsible to give us their contact information. They'd be responsible for handling the rental lease agreements, with the applicant or with the lessees. And they'd also be responsible for meeting all of the sexual predator registration requirements. If they are to rent to a lessee that falls under those requirements, they do have to, register with the city of Cove Springs Police Department as well as the Clay County Sheriff's Department. We also have certain required postings, again, such as the responsible parties information. We also include evacuation zones. We include quiet areas. One of the things I didn't mention, but similar to Orange Park, we only allow short-term vacation rentals in residential zones, so single family up to multifamily. So we do want to make sure that they comply with our noise requirements in the city, and we also provide them with trash pickup as well as hospital and safety information. As far as the rental agreement, require that they provide the names and ages of all the occupants. Also, they provide license plate information as well. Again, those are more for safety. That isn't something that normally the city would see unless there is a law enforcement issue. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Mike, just to get clarity, so you want the renter has to provide the names of all the people staying in the house and the license plate to the city every time?
No, what they have to do is they have to provide that, the responsible party is required to maintain that information for 5 years. They don't give it to the city. The only instance when the city would require that information again is if there's a law enforcement issue that comes up, they need to contact them. But they are responsible for maintaining that information. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike. So I skipped over someone, and I'm so sorry. Tina and Kirby Morgan are here with DCF. They're going to talk about water safety, which if your vacation rental has a pool, this is going to be a really important topic for you all to pay attention to. And so we're going to turn it over to Tina and Kirby. And y'all, they traveled from Orlando to be here with us tonight, so thanks for being here.
Good evening. Oh, that's right, I gotta stand up. I'm not used to standing in one place when I talk, I apologize. My name is Kirby Morgan, and I am the Child Fatality Prevention Specialist for the Department of Children and Families in the Central Region. I cover a 12-county area that goes from coast to coast up to the Ocala area and all the way south towards Sebring. In that area, I have a whole center part of the state is mine. And this is my coworker, Tina.
I'm Tina Morgan. I'm Circuit 9's Community Development Administrator, and it seems like it's like a Morgan show today. So thank you for being part of us. So we're just going to go ahead and I'm a little bit shorter, so I'll lower that. We're just gonna go ahead and jump into this. And typically, when we do the water safety presentations, they're much longer, so we have really kind of cut this down. So if you all have any questions afterwards, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We will leave our information for you to get in touch with us. But we're just gonna cover a little bit of the basics. So, you know, when we're talking about water safety, we wanna talk about who, why are we learning the water safety prevention? Why do we need to know this? Yeah, this. You can go to the next slide, everybody. I'll. So actually, when we do this, like obviously our perspective is from the Department of Children and Families, and I think one of the reasons why we do this is because a lot of the incidents that happen get called to our hotline. So when we talk about it, we like to just kind of share a little bit about our area. So it's Florida, which is divided into, you know, we have 67 counties. We have 6 regions. The central region is where we're from. Y'all are up in the northeast region. So y'all's area is probably bigger land mass than ours, but definitely the areas within and around Orlando are much more dense. So within our 67 counties, we pulled out some information, 27 million residents, about 1.6 million pools, about at the time that we did this, and I think we gathered the information from Dennis, was 307 vacation rental properties, with about 37.9 tourists in that first quarter in 2023. So why is that information important? Why do we talk about that? That's a lot of people coming to the state, and that's a lot of people coming to the state that may or may not know anything whatsoever about water safety, oceans, pools, anything. So we want to look at that, and we want to try and see that the actions that we're doing and the things that we're taking, the actions that we're taking and the things that we're doing are actually kind of preventing things. So what we're here to talk about is fatal drownings. We talk about it in the terms of non-fatal and fatal drownings. Here's kind of what we want to talk about first are some of the myths. When we're talking about pools in particular, one thing that happens that a lot of people think about is like everybody's out swimming and something happens and a child falls in and something bad happens. That is not the case. Most of the drownings occur during non-swim times. So everybody thinks that the child is in the home, that everybody's secure, that the barrier's in place, that everything is good. We can relax, take it easy, and somehow a child has got out undetected. Be it through a door that doesn't have an alarm on it, be it through a door that has the alarm turned off, be it through a doggy door, so on and so forth. So that's like the number one myth that we want to try and get out there, and that's why it's so important for all of y'all to kind of hear a little bit about this, kind of think about some of the things that we have seen to maybe help us prevent. The other myth that we want to talk about is people think that it's kind of like the Hollywood version of, you know, help me, help me. It's not. Typically, especially when we're talking about the kids who are most prone to drowning, which is 0 to 4. So these are kids that are very young, they're very little, they're attracted to something that's in the pool. When they fall in, they take that inhalation of breath, they go under, it's like 30 seconds, it's very quiet. So we want to make sure that that is known too, because you could be looking and you could be educating for something that just, it truly is not normally how it happens in this realm. So those are 2 of the myths that we wanted to address. Thank you. This obviously is the Orlando area. So what we tried to do was kind of display the non-fatal drownings. So basically there's not really good data in our area for this, and the reason why is with all the municipalities, fire departments, and emergency rooms reporting this, it doesn't go to one centralized spot versus the calls for children who have died from drowning that goes to one centralized spot. So we have that information. This is the best guess that we could get from the fire department. But the average is 1 drowning, 1 fatal drowning for 8 non-fatal drownings. And the non-fatal drownings can go from anywhere from a child has fallen in, they're quickly observed, they're pulled out, they're resuscitated, and everything is fine, to a child that suffers lifelong brain damage because they weren't pulled out in time and they couldn't be resuscitated quick enough. So there is if you factor all that in, 1 fatal drowning for every 8, that cost to all of us, not only in life and in grief and humanity, there is a huge cost that is there as well. Thank you. All right. So welcome to Florida, year-round. People are here, people are enjoying water. I don't know about y'all, but I wouldn't be in the water right at the moment. But people do come here and people think this is warm and people are out there and they're enjoying the water. And that's great and we want to keep that up, but we just want them to ensure that they're safe while doing it. It's not that we want to scare them. It's not that we want to tell them, no, don't come here. You're surrounded by water. Oh, no. That's not what we want. We want you to come here. We want you to be safe. We want you to be responsible. Enjoy your stay. And, okay, so again, it's not to say that children over the age of 4 don't drown. The highest prevalence is 0 to 4, and this is considered preventable because there's a lot of barriers that should be in place that maybe aren't in place when these deaths happen. Typically, 0 to 4, when children of that age have a fatal drowning, it is in a pool. That's the #1 source. As you get older, children of course still do drown. We don't have as many numbers for that, but those children tend to drown in open water. So they're at the beaches, they're at the lakes, they're at the springs. And the reason why we don't have the numbers for that at the department is, when kids are younger, we kind of have that expectation that parents or somebody are supervising them. So when something happens, that's why the department gets a report. When kids are older, your 16-year-old goes out with a friend to the springs, we consider that okay. They're allowed to go to the springs. So there's not necessarily that same element of supervision, so that's why the department doesn't get those numbers. So that's why when you see our data, you'll notice that the ages are very low. Typically, we'll see that 0 to 4 is very prevalent. So I just want to kind of caveat that it's not that the older kids don't, just that we may not have that data. Speaking of data.
These are the numbers for the fatal drownings in the state of Florida going back to 2012. Okay, compared to the overall number of fatalities reported to our hotline in Tallahassee. Here in Florida, we have a centralized hotline to where we accept abuse report calls in one place. That is unusual, and it's also very beneficial for us to be able to get data. There are certain states where it's, like I always use Louisiana as an example, that you have to call down to the individual parish to get information. And a lot of times our agency has to do that because this is Florida and everybody moves here. Most everybody. My wife happens to actually be a native Floridian, so that's kind of a nice thing. Who in here is native Floridian? Oh, that's awesome. I'm not, but I've been here for 50 years, so I consider myself a Floridian by now. As you can see, our numbers were low prior to the pandemic. All right, and after the pandemic hit, our numbers shot through the roof due to a number of factors. First off, everybody was closed up inside the house. There were parents that were not used to being home with their kids all the time. Then we got incentive checks and people starting installing pools. All right, Tina showed some of the statistics earlier about 1.6 million residential pools. The next closest state to us is California at 1.3. The next one closest to that is Texas. And along with those 3 states, us, Texas, California, and Arizona, we are the top 4 states in the United States when it comes to children, pediatric children under the age of 18 suffering a fatal drowning incident. Now, yeah, next one, there we go, thank you. What I did is I cover the central region, but I have access to data for the Northeast region. The Northeast region encompasses 20 counties and includes where we're standing in Clay County. The drownings are not here, but one drowning is more than enough. And we do whatever we can do to get the word out about trying to keep kids safe. And we want them, if you have a body of water or near a body of water at your rental property, we want to make sure that your residents are safe. Because as Tina alluded to, we get people here from the Midwest who are not used to water. The world's made up of 71% water, and it seems like Florida is made up of 90% water because we have it everywhere. Yes, sir?
Is there a correlation here between the number of vacation properties and total drownings, or just total numbers? Like what's the numbers related to vacation rentals?
I've got rental property drowning numbers in a minute. Because when it led into the pandemic, I got together with Tina in 2020 because I started to see a spike in rental property drownings. In 2021 alone, I had 9 rental property drownings in Osceola County, which Dennis was talking about earlier. solely in the one county where Kissimmee is located in the northwest corner. Now where are we? Which one? Okay, I pulled the information for Clay County to show you that these, the numbers in blue, I forgot to put the data point on there, I apologize, but that's saying for 1 or 2 or 1, etc. So even 1 is too much, but I wanted to show you what it looks like locally according to DCF and fatal drownings having occurred here, going back to 2012. These are some statistics that I pulled this morning in reference to going all the way back to 2009 for the 20-county Northeast region here. And you guys had 180 fatal drownings for that time period in this 20-county area. Clay County has only had 10 going back to 2009. So in the last 14, 15 years, there's only been 10 fatal drownings here, which a low number like that is a good thing. But as I said before, and I'll say again, 1 is more than enough.
Can I just point out one thing on there with the descriptions, the 10, 25, 22? So one of the things that we think of with vacation rental properties, and I don't know if you all have those, but if you have a dog door on that, we kind of don't think about that as being a means for entry and exit, but that's exactly what happened in that case. The 2-year-old crawled through the dog door and wound up in the pool. So just wanted to take a second and point that one out.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and move to the next slide. All right, just to give you an idea of the type of numbers that I deal with in Central Florida, all right? One of the things that I want to point out is that fatal drowning of pediatric children is a Florida problem that lately has been focalized in my area. Since the beginning of the pandemic, I've been averaging 40% of the state's drownings in Central Florida. And I bring this up just to show you a little bit of a difference. The thing is, it's a problem because standardly Texas has been #1 when it comes to pediatric drownings. Over the last couple of years, it's been us in Florida. And I don't want to be #1 in that statistic. I would like to be at the bottom of the list or not on the list at all. These are the locations of the drownings in my area going back to 2012. And as you can see, residential pools are the highest culprit. And as Tina was talking about earlier, it's not about the active swim time. It's about non-swim time and ensuring that access points to the pool, okay, such as a dog door, such as a sliding glass door, any type of access point to a pool. If you have a newer home, it probably has pool pole holes built into the foundation if you had the pool put in at the same time the home was built. That means you probably have a pool fence. If there's a pool fence in place, you need to make sure that it is secure. Because if it's not secure, a renter and their child who come from Nebraska, come from Oklahoma, and don't know about these things, you need to make sure that they're just notified, because we live in Central Florida, which is supposed to be the happiest place on earth. And Disney doesn't want us to scare people. But what I don't want to see is, I don't want a family going home with an empty seat. And that's what it comes down to.
So I just want to add in that too, as Dennis had mentioned earlier with that spike and rise of vacation rental properties, you also notice a spike and rise of vacation rental property drownings. Basically, prior to 2020, we did not have that many. After 2020, we saw the increase with 9 in that following year, being astronomical for us, not having had that previously. So it does have some correlation to what has been happening in the vacation rental property arena.
Sir, this is the slide that I was mentioning earlier. This is what Tina was just alluding to, is leading all the way up to the pandemic. You can see that we had hardly any rental property drownings. And then the rental property industry increased exponentially because not only were we locked up inside the homes, not only did we get the incentive check to build new pools, we were also one of the states to open back up first. So everybody was like, okay, my state's closed down, I'm gonna travel and go to Florida because they were open. And so we started to see a major spike. And at that time, we reached out to Airbnb, and it took us several months to get a hold of Airbnb. And what happened was, I Googled, what do? You Google it. I Googled it, I found the corporate address out in San Francisco. We start sending emails, couldn't get a hold of anybody. And we fell back on that cliche statement was, it all depends on who you know. It turned out one of the water safety cabinets that we're on in Central Florida, somebody that worked with one of the local hospitals said, I know somebody that works with Airbnb. And in no time at all, we got put in touch with the representative for Airbnb for Florida. That led to an email in 2020 into the beginning of 2021. It led us to, they ended up sending out an email, a blast email on water safety and the Residential Pool Swimming Act in the state of Florida. And they estimated it was to at least 66,000 rental properties that identified as having a body of water. So rental property and water safety has been at the top of our priority list because that's what our economy in Florida is based on. And in Central Florida, in my area, it's been incredibly important because of the fact that my numbers have been as high as they have been. We've also developed a relationship with Dennis, which has helped quite a bit because we want to get the word out that what you need to work on is making sure that your properties are safe. Oh, okay. One quick thing about autism and children, okay? Children with autism are 160 times more likely to drown than children without autism. And the problem with our numbers is that most of our pediatric drownings, 75% of them are children ages 0 to 4. But most children are not diagnosed until the age of 4, 4.5 with autism. And so I had to do a data breakdown and I had to search all of our records to see if anything was mentioned about autism at all. And just to tell you part of what I do, the other day I closed out a case from September and there was actually surveillance footage of a child that was 4 years old, was suspected to be autistic but had not been tested yet. And I watched the surveillance video because the family had a surveillance camera in the backyard. They lost track of the child, and the child wandered right up, and it was an above-the-ground pool. The family had not removed the ladder from the above-the-ground pool. Child had free access to climb up right into the pool and fall in. So it's limiting access points. If it's an above-the-ground pool, make sure that there are instructions for your residents that come to stay at your property that when they're done with the pool, they take the ladder out if they have small kids. All right? Make sure that there's nothing next to it. We had a rental property drowning on Christmas Day 2020 during the pandemic where it was a brand new home. They had a pool fence in place and everything, but they stuck the picnic table right next to the pool fence. Child climbed right up on top of the picnic table, went right over the top, climbed right over the top of the fence. Because if any of you in here have kids or have had kids or have grandkids, you know they love to climb and they're ingenious. So it's accessing safety or making sure that they're safe. And a lot of things that you can do, Tina and I are going to talk about now. The Consumer Product Safety Commission runs the website poolsafely.gov. All right? And you can order water watcher tags for free from their website in 100 increments of 100. They're in English and Spanish. They don't have Creole yet, okay? But they do have English and Spanish, and they are free. When you have active swim time, you make sure that somebody has this on, okay? Go ahead.
So basically, there should be one like this in the majority of the packets. I apologize, I didn't get to all the packets, but I did leave some on the counter over there. The ones that are in the packet are not hooked, but basically it's a lanyard, you just hook it on there. The idea being, if you're the person actively watching that you're wearing this, and that kind of serves as a reminder that pops around and hits you as you're moving, to say, hey, your eyes are supposed to be on the kids, you're not supposed to be on your phone, you're not supposed to be drinking, you're not supposed to be chatting with somebody, you're supposed to be watching the kids.
No social media. Advise your families to say, by the way, I know you want that Wi-Fi code, but if you're out at the pool, or if you're putting the kids in the bathtub, make sure that they are not on social media. Make sure that they're not on their phones. We had an arrest of a father in Polk County earlier this year who told detectives when questioned, he's like, I don't know how long I was on TikTok. Yeah, TikTok, see, I don't even use it. Can't even say it right. But he was on TikTok, did not know how long he was on it while his daughter was drowning in the bathtub. I say this to you not to scare you. I say this to help keep your residents safe, the people that come to stay with you, okay? Because I don't want them to end up on my desk or my counterpart's desk or anybody's. I want them to go home and remember that they had a great time in Florida.
So similarly, here's some other tools that you can use to put in the packets that you provide for vacation rental purveyors. So this is very similar to the Water Watcher, except what this does is this little piece breaks off and becomes a wristlet. So instead of having a lanyard, you have a wristlet. Same principle, it has the same rules, same information. The other thing is there is like a door hang. All of these tools are free, they're just depending upon which one you like best, where you would go to get them. The wristlets from NDPA, the National Drowning Prevention Alliance, and this is from the Department of Health. It's just a little door hanger. Department of Health also gives out free alarms. These are the very simple alarms that you put on doors that basically have a battery in it and you just flip it on and flip it off. NDPA also has a water safety checklist for vacationers. It goes through everything from booking your vacation, during your stay, and then after your stay. And then, when we're looking at vacation rentals specifically, there are a lot, and if you Google rules for pool, you'll find a lot of little clings that you can put on the door that goes out to the pool that addresses water safety, and they all say stuff like, the barriers are, make sure that the alarms are set, make sure the doors are locked, dog doors locked, learn CPR, get swim lessons. And none of that's really geared to the vacation rental person because you're not going to come down, you're not going to learn CPR, you're not going to go to swim lessons. And so we worked with Goldfish Swim Academy to create something that's specifically for vacation rental properties. And basically, of course, some of them are the same, such as, don't allow a child to swim alone, always designate a water watcher, keep the access points locked, use life jackets, but then the other two are, remove the toys from the pool after you're done, and remove the furniture away from the pool gates. So they're specifically addressing things that could happen in a rental property. So those are just some of the tools. Again, I should say these ones, the ones that I have, are free. After that, Goldfish does actually charge for theirs, but everything else is for free that you can order online. Any questions? Yes, sir.
If I may.
And Steve, can you come up here? Will you come up here, please?
I don't really have any insight whatsoever, but the products and what these folks are advertising, I avail myself of them on my own. They've sent me many boxes of these, all of these kind of things. So great tips, great organization and all that stuff. What I'm asking of you guys is please maintain your barrier, okay, around the swimming pool. If you're unsure of what that is, you can do the claycountygov.com website. My contact information is on there. I'll send that to you, okay? This isn't anything that requires permitting. Once the pool is in, the building department really doesn't have any cause to be there, okay? So it's gonna be on you guys to maintain these barriers. I can send that to you, I can spell it out. There's many different barrier types, but the barriers and the alarms, they have floating pool alarms, so you have the situation where the kids get away. When they fall in the pool, the alarm's gonna sound. So your occupant knows something happened, okay? So these things are fairly simple. They're pretty inexpensive to do. They're not difficult to maintain. But having that sort of a backup and some way to separate that child from the pool is critical to making this happen, okay? So I can be a resource to you. I mean, we all joke that, from the government, I'm here to help. But I honestly we'll go out of our way to help you with this and help you with the barriers, and so you understand what it is. The law is written to prevent a toddler-age child from accessing that pool. That's what that barrier does. That's the 0 to 4. And those of you that have been around them, they can do what they can to circumvent any of that stuff. But it's very, very important that you guys maintain those things and use us for a resource for any of that will be available for you. Thank you.
I have a question for you. On barriers.
Steve?
Steve,
Yes.
just a question on barriers. So I have this, as you exit the house in the back, there's a screen enclosure. The pool is on the outside of the screen enclosure. Is that a good barrier? Is that sufficient?
Yeah, it can be, yes. If you have there are requirements for those doors, that you have a height of the latch, it's got to be self-closing, self-latching. It's a little different perspective.
Steve,
If
can you
look
come
at
up here and answer that question,
Okay,
please?
sorry.
Thank you. We're making this recording available to you all later, so in case you need to refer to it, that's why we really need to come back.
Okay, so the screen door can be part of that barrier. There are limits, it's got to be self-closing and self-latching. The latch has to be at least 54 inches above the floor or walking surface. So it can serve as that. One way to look at the barrier is look at start at the swimming pool, and that barrier separates that pool from the rest of the world. Okay, so if you kind of look at it from that perspective, it gives you a little different view of what's going to work and how it's going to work properly. If that did.
Yeah.
That help?
Okay.
Anybody else?
Thanks.
Sure.
One of the things that we also want to talk about is safety equipment near the pool. There's not specific requirements listed in statute, but we do want to make sure that you all have a life-saving device, whether that's a ring or something like that in your pool area. So I don't know if y'all want to chime in on that at all, Mike. But that's something that's easy for you to do. That would, in a moment of crisis, might help save someone's life. So we'll let Mike from Public Safety tell y'all a little bit more.
How y'all doing tonight? When it comes to the safety aspect with pools, you definitely want to have something that you can throw in to help rescue the person, even a life vest or something like that. But before they do that, it'd be really helpful if you put like your address in the pool area, because when they go to call 911 and they're freaking out, they're not going to know where they are. So if they have a visible address to look at while they're on the phone with 911 prior to getting the person out or jumping in at the same time, that would really be helpful. You don't want to jump in if you can help it. If it's a child, it's different, but an adult or somebody like that, they'll fight you, so you really don't want to jump in. You want to have something to throw it at. And back to Steve's point with the barrier, you were asking about, is a screen patio a good barrier? You have to be careful if they're in the backyard, because if they get out of that screen patio and they're in the backyard, that's access to the pool now. So you still may want to consider putting that barrier up around the pool. It's got to be around the pool itself to stop them from getting into it. Any questions on the safety aspect of the pool? Thanks.
Y'all, thank you for sticking with us. Does anybody need to stretch, or are we ready to talk about liability and more safety? Okay, you ready to go? Okay, let's keep going. So I'm going to turn it over to Keith Brady, who's the attorney for the Florida Alliance of Vacation Rentals, and he's going to help you navigate some of the questions that you may have with safety and liability.
Well, hello everybody. I'm going to give you a little different approach when I speak tonight. I'm going to give you a little introduction, a little information, and a free offer. So, my name's Keith Brady. My law firm's Florida Vacation Rental Law. I am the state's worst vacation rental attorney. I'm the state's best vacation rental attorney. I'm the state's only vacation rental attorney. In 2020, I made a career decision to downshift. I had offices around the state. I shut them all down. My son, brilliant young courtroom attorney, trained at Oxford, took over the firm, and we need a whole staff of attorneys statewide to deal with all the lawsuits. And instead of retiring, I said, what I really want to do is just preventative care. So I have my own firm, it's just me. I answer the phone when you call, and all I do is help people not win lawsuits. I used the slogan for 5 years, my clients don't win lawsuits. But some people didn't appreciate my sense of humor. They thought I was bad both at law and at marketing. So the new approved slogan is preventative legal care that's kind of free. And skip the kind of free part. So my clients are companies and individuals that rent vacation homes. They're nonprofits like Dennis, and they're government agencies. So here's the free offer. You'll probably remember that name, Florida Vacation Rental Law. It's pretty generic. You can contact me and ask me anything you want for 5 or 10 minutes at no charge. The same with the governments, and we do have a stellar record of helping governments, law enforcement, fire departments, tax departments, code enforcement avoid lawsuits. So I'm very proud of our record, that we do a great job of keeping our government partners out of trouble. It's complicated, guys. Our regulations are a lot more than what we're covering tonight. I was given a list of things to cover, and I'm going to touch on just some of those in a few brief minutes. You have to have a state license. You have to have local registration. You have to pay state taxes. You have to pay county taxes. Now let's move on to insurance. Your insurance you currently have does not cover vacation rentals. You have to have special insurance or it's not covered. And if you ask your agent to add on coverage for rentals, he or she will, but it won't cover vacation rentals because they don't know what they're doing. There happens to be a company called Fudge that I've been recommending since the 90s that will actually sell you the right insurance. Gas grills aren't covered by insurance, nor are bicycles and golf carts and a bunch of other things. But gas grills will rival drownings when it comes to the type of liability you have. That's why the insurance companies don't have them. Now, a lot of good information on pools. I want to touch on 1 or 2 others, because that was a real pick-me-upper, wasn't it? Talking about those pools. So let's see what else I can do to bring you down here. So with the pools, where did I write my notes? Because we covered a lot. The single best thing you can do is to have hardwired door alarms. Hardwired door alarms. I hate to say this, but some of the precautions people take actually increase liability because they'll buy a cheap pole fence. We've had drownings with pole fences that the kids have gotten through. Battery-operated alarms that the batteries had expired. Now you're more liable than had you never made that precaution. Please don't read into that I don't want you to take those precautions, but there is a better thing, and it's the hardwired door alarms. It's the single best precaution you can have. When it comes to the pool fences, they're fantastic. If you've got the holes in your ground, which was code in some districts, and you don't have the fence, you have no excuse. It was right there and you didn't bother to use it. So again, more liability than had you not what's called gross negligence, where it was an intellectual decision to say, I know I'm being negligent. Okay. There's a lot of other regulations. It's actually part of the state fire code, and it includes things like you have to have the same kind of wishbone door locks. They're like the modern deadbolts. You have to have emergency lighting. You have to have background checks if you started since January 1 of this year moving forward. and I'll skip it, but the point is there are a lot of other regulations we didn't cover. Somebody had mentioned homestead. This is fun rule. A lot of people claim homestead when they rent their house out and still live in it 6 months and a day. You can't, because there's 2 other rules. Number 1, you can't claim homestead if you've claimed it in another state. And number 2, you can't claim homestead if you've rented your house for more than 30 days, 2 years in a row. So you lose your homestead. So be careful. And then the law is fun. I love the law. There's a lot of little nuances and exceptions. If you're active military, then you can't lose your homestead. If you're active military, you don't have to pay tax if you're using it for government purposes. So there's always going to be fun exceptions. But here's a regulation that I'll just skip to the very last one that says, oh my God. So you can say, oh my God, there is a law. You're not allowed to have decorative soaps in your house, okay? So let's look at a couple of other things here. When it's a last minute booking, make sure you get a copy of the ID and the credit card, or you'll suffer the occasional credit card fraud. When it comes to chargebacks, make sure that you're very aware of people that start making minor complaints and asking for minor things. When you compensate them, your liability or risk of Airbnb refund, negative review, and chargeback, your risk of those things increases when you acquiesce to a bully. So the customer is always wrong, is my suggested policy. Okay, so don't let them bully you, or you actually will have more trouble from them. You can be 100% nice and stand up for yourself. A lot of clients say, oh, I just want to be nice. I'm like, well, be nice. But it's nothing nice about being bullied. A couple other things. Service animals. His special skill is he can go on the end of a pencil. That's what he does. So he's a real service animal. Most of the ones you meet are not going to be real. So a really good policy is let it go, because they're ADA trolls. That's the legal term for them. They buy an animal and they make it a legitimate service animal, and they make a living out of it. Because if you do one little thing wrong, there's federal laws that will clip them to squash you like a bug. So that's my proposed policy, let it go. Now, there's more we can do if you don't want to let it go, but it's beyond the scope of tonight. That's good free advice, because if you get into what questions you can ask and what you can't ask, and what about ESAs, it gets a little complicated. Not so complicated that you can't do it, but complicated enough that you want to be very careful when you challenge these illegally aggressive people. Here's a fun rule. Your house rules are a binding agreement, even though they didn't sign it. The law is a little old-fashioned. That's only if they're posted, old school. So that's a contract, even though they didn't sign it. They call that a special law. I like that one. Here's another one, and I know we have law enforcement here. You're allowed to have them removed, just like it's a barroom fight. They have no tenant rights. See, we're not real estate. You don't have to have a real estate license. We're licensed by the hotel division. These are transients, and there's a transient statute that entitles us to the right to have people thrown out. If we do it wrong, they can sue you, so you want to be a little careful, but it's not so sensitive. They're not allowed to sue law enforcement, only you. Guess who wrote that law? So that's a good one. The same, yeah, I won't get into that. There's laws you can tell attorneys wrote too, like we're allowed to charge credit card fees, you're not. I wonder who wrote that law. Okay, cameras. Doorbell cameras pointed outwards only. Are there exceptions and nuances? Yes, but actually not cameras in the pool area. That can actually be a crime, and under the right circumstances, a felony where you can go to prison for over a year. I might have one or two other notes here, or not. Oh, you do have to report your Airbnb income to the state. So tax reporting to the state is different. You report it on line 4A, and on line 4B, it qualifies as exempt income because the taxes have already been paid. And I think that's about it. So again, I do have some collateral material with my number. I think you'll be okay without it. I think you'll probably remember that name. And my name's Keith Brady, if you want to remember that. Should I ask a question or two now, or are we done? I know it's a busy agenda.
We can see if anybody.
I think you have a question, yeah.
Two quick ones. That, I asked about reporting the Airbnb income earlier, and I think that was the county person, and they said no.
Yeah.
And but I talked to state also, and she said no, and when I did report it, they told me I was wrong in doing it.
Right, except if you get audited, you're gonna find that you have to report it. The work is very inconsistent. Let me give you a little background. When I talk about something like removals, it's because I've had the honor of being involved in policy development with the State Sheriff's Association. When I talk about taxes, it's because I've had the honor to deal with the 25-year head attorney of the department, same with FREC, etc. So nobody likes a braggart, but I skipped that day in church when they taught about humility. So I'm telling you right now, I'm where you get the right information. The information's so bad everywhere. Facebook groups you should not be looking at all for legal advice. For marketing and best practices, yes. But I've been through tens of millions of dollars of audits, and I can tell you, without a doubt, you have to report that as exempt income.
For Florida state, but not for county.
For state, but not for county. Again, so much more to know. It's also due at different times. The counties do, and if they have a different policy, don't let me mess you up. It's due based on checkout date. The state, it's due based on collection date when you receive it. Majority of people get that wrong, but when they get audited, it is heartbreaking. Heartbreaking.
So the homestead exemption, because this is two pieces of property side by side, one's a guest cottage, one's the main house. They're allowed to be both homestead exempted, and I've taken advantage of that. And not that it gives you any more of a tax break, but it keeps it from being raised so much.
Yeah.
So if I'm renting out a guest cottage as an Airbnb, did I lose the homestead exemption on that guest cottage?
It depends on the county. It's very odd laws because the counties can have different homestead laws, but the state will also enforce it. So the county can come after you, but the state can too. And what happens is that there's a word substantial. When you rent out all or substantially all of the property, you lose your homestead. But there's counties like Broward where they'll even prorate it for you. So the laws vary, and you just want to, these problems, guys, they're 100% preventable. Whether it's gas grill problems or pool problems or tax problems, it's so simple. You just talk to the tax collector and get the right information. What I know is I know that everything's 100% preventable because most people don't believe in preventative care. It works in the law just as well as with your personal health. And I think that's about it.
And hopefully this slide will come up. I think this will be one of the last things we talk about before we get to the marketing and fun stuff. Natural disasters. I mean, y'all, we still have 29 days? 28 days of hurricane season. So I'm going to turn it over to Mike Ladd, the Director of Emergency Management, to talk to y'all a little bit about how you can communicate Clay County's resources to your guests.
Hi, good evening. As Kimberly talked to you, my name is Mike Ladd, I'm Director of Emergency Management. I've got about 35 slides, loads of, I'm just kidding, I really just have this one. And I'm hoping that a lot of the stuff that I talked to is gonna be, I already knew that, okay? I too, as Ms. Campbell had talked to, also love the product you're championing here. Out of state, I've seen a lot of things done well, where you come in, there's a welcome book or an information packet. So what I did is just basically threw together some sites here, and if you could add this potentially to your packets, and some of these I hope that you've already known about. The Safer Watch app that the sheriff's office uses is a fantastic. You log into that, you get real-time updates on traffic, real-time updates on anything that's got significant police activity. Very good conduit for information. The one underneath that is the one typically emergency management will champion. It's a registration site, alert.claycountygov.com. That's where we're going to push a lot of weather-specific information out. It's going to give folks, hey, in a couple days, it's going to kind of build up. But the good part about that is if we have something sudden like a tornado, they'll get an alert to whatever device they've signed up for. So if it's your cell phone, if it's your iPad, anything along those lines, that's a registration site that I would really tell you is definitely worth its weight in gold. The Clay County website, if you've not had a chance to see that lately, take a look at it. I will tell you the emergency management splash page, that has specifics. I mean, it literally has soup to nuts on there. Everything from prong, flooding levels, everything from, hey, what should I pack? What are the types of consumables I need during an emergency? The new updated evacuation maps or the flood zone maps, all that stuff's on there. So if you've not looked at that, again, another information conduit that I think would really help anybody that's staying temporarily in the area. Social media, both Facebook and Instagram. Again, Clay County has a fantastic communications division, and they're doing great work as far as actively both not only just pushing information out, but also consuming and understanding those messages really get to who they need to get to within the county team. And I think what you'll find is that's a two-way street that we get a lot of good information from, and helps us cater those actions sometimes. And then obviously, sometimes where I've gone on vacation, I've gone in there, I don't know what the local television stations are, I don't know what the local radio stations are, and I just picked a couple here, something along these lines where it's relatively simple, but offering those up, I think it was a fantastic comment earlier, I think Lieutenant Boyd could talk to it, if they could put your address in there, the same type of thing, let them get familiar with the information that's available. I think we're gonna see a lot of benefit coming back from that. Ultimately, we want to reinforce 911 for emergency. That does not change. None of these sites or this information conduits change that dynamic. But then we also would like to offer them if they want to call the emergency management division. Hey, I got a question about X, Y, and Z. Hey, I see a storm in the Atlantic. So we'd offer up that public number as well. And then down below, and I know IPAWS is kind of a weird thing. It's the integrated public. Don't tell me because I knew this. It's basically the public warning system, and it's something that I have the ability to do to push through cable, through anything that's got I can tailor that to a geographic location. And the goodness to that is they don't have to sign up for that. Okay, so if you've got an electronic phone, if you've got a TV in that area, I can actually go to a certain area, public awareness warning system, public alert and warning system. There, I said it. Whew. I say IPAWS. That's why they put IPAWS in there. But the goodness about that, again, is it's something that it can really cross boundaries on there, and it can be specific to a geographic location, and again, give quick warning in case we need to do that. Again, you're probably more creative than I am. This is just an idea of how you can kind of put together something like an information card. If you wanted to add QR codes to make it even easier than that, where somebody just take a picture of a phone, you can do that as well. But I just wanted to kind of offer that up there and then answer any of the questions you may have about why and what the methodology is behind this. I've only got 30 other slides, guys, so give me some coin. I'm just kidding. I do, yes, sir.
Just something came to mind. Let's say you have a guest staying, let's say it's September,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a sudden hurricane, is there anything we do as hosts to deal with people from out of state that may be staying in a place, at let's say an Airbnb?
Yeah, I think you're gonna, my recommendation would be, it's the same awareness that you use as residents here in Clay County. The same messaging is going to apply. So if we get to a point where, the Atlantic is obviously busy, September and Hurricane Sir, the scenario that you talked to, very viable, very, very high chance that could happen. But if we get within a cone and we start getting warnings that, hey, on earliest onset of tropical storm winds, and there's a preparation that has to be done. The one thing that Kimberly brought up was the discussion of evacuations, and I'll expand to that very briefly. We are not going to put mandatory evacuations out. I don't have the ability to come in and say, okay, you will leave. Okay. What we are going to do is we are going to declare evacuation zones based on surge predictions, based on conditions that are supported through the National Weather Service, through our partners. And the challenge there then is if folks decide to still stay, and that's where I think you potentially could leverage in saying, hey, if they're saying we're in evacuation zone, you guys got to go. Maybe that's the messaging. Because what will happen is when folks are there, they will not see public safety or law enforcement for the period of time when the storm effects aren't unsafe. We can't put our folks in unsafe conditions. So that's the danger that exists. But to your point, sir, I think directly the same type of preventative, the same type of preparedness actions, because again, September is very tough. That's one of the toughest. Usually if you're in an emergency management business, you just go and there's no holiday. I think it's something called Labor Day. I've never seen it where I haven't worked. So apparently there's a holiday there somewhere. But no, it's a great question, sir. Any other questions? All right, thank you. I think the other thing, if I could just touch one, is good introduction in there. This is a great place, great county to visit. And granted, we're in Florida. The other thing I would tell you, knock on wood, is that with the buffer counties that we have, Clay County's not been hit with a Cat 4, Cat 5. Now that I said that, see that, I'm knocking on wood, doing everything I can. So, it's not a coastal county where you get into those, like those places, especially in September, and you get those Atlantic approaches. They are very, very, that's tough business over there. So, appreciate what you do. Thank you. Thanks.
I'm going to kind of flip it because I think the other thing, where Mike is focused on the safety of the residents of Clay County and the visitors as well, there are times when other areas of Florida or other areas in the country call for mandatory evacuations because of an impending storm. And people will come to Clay County to ride the storm out here. So know that one of the things that we do when we work with Visit Florida from the tourism team is that we are going to alert you whenever a county in Florida has received a mandatory evacuation. We do that as our relationship with Visit Florida, just to make sure that you're aware. Because one of the things that happens is sometimes the storm is bad enough that people get stranded here, and we need to know that they're here. And that's why you're going to get communication from us so that we can alert Mike and his team that we have evacuees here. That's just something that we need to be aware of and be able to help them. That happened in Hurricane Michael. It happened in some other storms too. In Katrina, I know several people actually relocated to Northeast Florida from New Orleans because they were here. This is where they evacuated to, and they never went back. And so we don't ever want anything like that to happen again, but we know that we're here to serve them and help them during that difficult time. So know that you get communication from us for that, and we share that with the people that need to know that. Now on to some fun stuff. Are y'all ready for some fun stuff? Okay, good. So I want to tell you about free fun stuff. Your tourist development taxes that you pay to the county tax collector go to our efforts to marketing the county. And y'all, I want to be sensitive to your time, so we're gonna do that. I'm just gonna tell you a little bit about what we do. We tell Clay County's story to the rest of the world. Local residents hopefully know about the great things that there are to see and do here, but we have a market. You all are not our target audience because you live here. And so it's great when we have people on vacation and they hear our Spotify ad in Daytona Beach or in Tampa. when they're on vacation and they hear it. We also do advertising in Atlanta. Visitors are coming from all over. We host special events. Just so that you know, we just booked the Masters World Championship for the Scottish Highland Games. They'll be here the first weekend of October 2024. And we're working on several other sporting events and different events that help bring economic impact to our county. Now, let me kind of paint the picture. There's two ways that the county's budget can increase. Okay, just two. The commissioners raise the millage rate, which means you pay more taxes, right? Which you don't want to do, and they don't want to do. Or more visitors come in and spend money in our community. Yeah, so those are the only two ways. And so that's how our budget gets, I mean, there's impact fees and there's some other ways, but like those are the simplest from a tax perspective. So y'all, that's what we're trying to do. We know that there's at least 250,000 people that are visiting our county every year. And they're spending their money here. We want to give you a free page on exploreclay.com to market your vacation rental. We want to tell your story. We want to know about you. We invite influencers. We recently had Coleman Concierge, which is a global influencer. They traveled the world. They were in Saudi Arabia before they came to Clay County in St. Augustine. And they wrote about our community, and that was basically free advertising for us. So we may call you and say, we've got media in town that wants to host us. I know some of you have done that with us. But we want them to experience Clay County and all the great things that we have to see and do here. And you all are a part of that experience. And so we want to work with you. So we want to make sure, I'm not going to bore you with all of the things that we do. We want to schedule some time with you to meet with you one-on-one to hear your story about your vacation rental business and market you and tell your story. That's really what we want to do. We want to see we want to help connect you with businesses that can enhance your experience for your guests. And give you tools. ExploreClay.com has a great events calendar so that you can direct your guests to know what's happening on the weekends when they're in town. Some of you have medical patients or guests that are here for medical treatment because there are great doctors in the Northeast Florida region. We want to help you give them those peaceful places to go. And the places that they can go for a nice long walk or get great water views. We want to be that resource for you to help guide their experience in Clay County. So we want to make sure that you sign the registration list so that we can get in touch with you in the coming weeks. I do want to let you know that we are preparing a web page on the county's website that will have all the information that is in your packet and the presentations that were provided today, so that there's one central location for you to have this information, so that if you need a refresher on something or you're like, I know we talked about that at that vacation rental workshop, but I don't remember what the answer is, you can go to this page to refer to and share with some of the other people that you may know that are vacation rental owners that weren't able to make it tonight. We've got the presentation recorded, so that'll be available to you. So I just want to say again, thank you for being here, taking time to learn about more about your business. Hopefully I think everybody walked away learning something. Yes, good. We'll send y'all an evaluation for the program too, because we want to hear from you and what you need as vacation rental owners for the future. Thank you and have a great night.